and we got a project open, and we're ready to go. So Unreal natively supports up to, I think, 4K video right now, which is great. Which means we can do not only do video assets, but we can do actual 360 video and create entire worlds inside of 360. This is a really great technique for like compositing the two together. I don't know if you guys saw the Pete's Dragon VR experience. I didn't see it, but I know that it exists, and it's a composite of 360 video with a CG character. So some drone footage, right, with a CG dragon, and then you get to put on your headset, and I think you actually sit on a saddle or whatever when you do the experience. Super fun, right? So this compositing of different mediums is totally possible within the engine. You can VJ with a bunch of videos and switch them remotely on a Gear VR. So there's a lot of power here to do a lot of mixed media kind of stuff. That one is not at BAM right now, but anyway. So we're going to talk about both doing regular videos as assets, kind of like Giant is, and then or just like Giant is, and then how to do 360, and then we'll see where we go from there with some more additional materials. So Unreal supports native video playback, but it has to be done in a specific way, and it might seem a little confusing at first. I'm going to try to repeat what I'm doing to make it make sense for you, because ultimately it does make sense what they're trying to do. First of all, the specific thing is that the game root or the game directory, the videos be contained in the game directory in a folder called, let's see, oh, wrong one. There we go. We're here it is. There we go. So it has to be in a folder called Movies. That's just all it is. It has to be right here under Content and Movies. Okay. And I'll go ahead and grab from the previous example. Data, new projects, and there we go. Boom. So I'm going to grab some of these videos we're going to work with. I already downloaded some 360 stuff to work with. All right. And then when I put this in here, or if I started something from scratch, this is the only time we're actually taking files that aren't, we're not importing a file, we're just putting it into a certain directory, and it's just going to be referencing it. It's just the only thing inside of this content folder that's not going to be like a U asset or a U map, something that's like converted by Unreal itself. Like some of these, look at our assets, like some of these meshes, they're all U assets, So just remember to put it in the Movies folder, and then it doesn't show up here, it doesn't appear here as a movie. It's going to appear as we're going to import it and make a folder for movies here that parallels that video, that Movies folder. There we go. And inside of here, when we import those movies, content movies, it now brings a reference to where they are on my hard drive, and you see that's a relative path. Okay, if I link it to any location that's not directly in that Movies folder, it'll still play on my computer, but if I make it executable, it won't know where it is, and it'll be blank. So it might work while you're testing on your computer, but you hand it off to a client, and it won't work. So just remember, and it'll give you a big warning here, or not, it will actually give you a small warning right here, if it's not a relative path, if it's an absolute path to another location that's not in your Movies folder. So that's a huge point. I think I've stressed that enough. And now we have a reference to a file on a disk. That's its own thing. And now let's make a movie player, right? I'm going to create a media player, and this one is going to be called The Beef. I only want to play things about beef on here, right? And then when I create that, it now creates an audio file and a video texture, so an audio texture, video texture, to play it to. All right. This is a media player that can play a lot of videos, right? In a sequence, but it can't play them two at the same time, right? So a media player has to play a video. It can play any video, but it can only play one video at a time, right? It's just like iTunes or VLC or whatever. If I wanted to play two videos back at the same time, I would have to use two media players. But as long as you're using one video at a time, I'm working on a project now that's probably like 8 gigabytes of videos, like short videos. We're using one media player for all like 60 videos because only one's playing at a time, right? You just need one player, all right? And with this playing back, we see it can propagate into the texture, which you'll see down there now. I'll keep it playing. And then now let's create material from this. You guys are getting real inspired. All right, so now we have our beef material. And oftentimes with video, we want to emulate like a screen, right? You want to make it look like it's a TV screen and video's playing on there. So you would put it in the emissive, right? Yeah, so I put emissive, and I might make this texture unlit. All right, there's our emissive, and then my texture would be unlit. And now I need to put it in something in the world. So I think that looks good right there. Looks great. This is the perfect spot. Little video playing. And let's throw the material on the video plane. Super simple. There he is. You know, the video is a different aspect ratio, so it's a little squashed. So we can bring out this, stretch it out. There we go. Now we have the beef inside of the game. All right, he's like popping through the ground. Maybe he's like behind some bushes somewhere. There you go. I am making art. Okay, but so I'm gonna hit simulate because I don't want to do, or I could take off. I have a cinematic on here from previous week, and I don't want to go through the whole Rails thing, so I'm gonna take that off from being it's called navigation Rails. I don't want it to start, so let's take off autoplay. Oh, it's not. Great. And let's make sure it's not in our blueprint. So I remember I was when I poked this thing, I went flying, right? We're not even gonna be like there, so let's get rid of that. Get our pawn. And there it is. Let's go to cinematic. And if we want to, I think I could pilot this. Yeah, so I'm going to pilot it. So I'm just going to change the position by flying through space. Alright, great. I could also just put a player start right here. Or I could probably hit simulate and not have to worry about it. Okay? So we're all really excited. Let's watch him play. And nothing's happening. Right? So when we are previewing and playing around inside the movie player, we can use it to select different tracks and preview things, but it's not actually assigned to this material, to this texture. We haven't assigned this media player to a file source yet. We have to do that with a simple little bit of blueprints so it knows which one to play. There's 3 videos there. How does it know which one of the 3 videos to play? We need to tell it which file. Okay? So we're going to do this in the level blueprints. And Oh, I gotta hit stop. Alright, there we go. So we're gonna go into our level blueprints, and I'm gonna make a new variable. And just be called beef player. Same as LaBeouf, which means beef, right? Okay. And it's a media player. Cool. When I compile, it says, what is the default value? Please compile the blueprint. Let's give it a default value. Which player is it? Well, it's the beef. Alright. And then what do we want to do? We want to assign a media player to a source. So this media player can be, well, I want it to open the file. Type in open, and look, there's open a source. Alright, so on event begin play, we want to do a couple of things. I have this dynamic material that I made last week that was glowing, so I don't want to get rid of that. We want to do two things at once on the same frame. There's a flow control node called sequence, and it's the order of operations that happens on the one frame, but sometimes you have to tell something to be dynamic before you do something with it or something like that. So you can add as many pins, and oftentimes in your projects you'll have a bunch of stuff going off of begin play because a lot of things have to happen. Certain things have to set positions and transforms and stuff like that. So when we start, let's play with this media player, this asset. Well, we're not playing, we're just opening, right? I can also say play, and there just, it's the play function, but also in here there's play on open. So I'm just going to keep it like that. It's going to play immediately. So if you want to delay it a little bit, like you want to load it, but then when you hit a trigger, then it starts playing, or depending on which trigger you're playing, you can feed it which video source you want, right? So I can actually convert this to like a variable as well, and then choose which media source it is, right? And I can have a few random ones and choose randomly between video sources. Make an array. Alright, so not to get too into it, but I don't know if you guys are like program or like coding, but the way you make arrays is you just say make an array of this. You're going to change the variable type. And now this is an array. And let's that was a painful word apparently. Anyway, so this is an array of 3 video players now. The beef, the show reel, and the basketball. Right, we're just like going to get an index, and the beef is still index 0. So this is the long way about doing it, but now I've made an array, and you can see how I can give different indexes on events, and I can start VJing different videos now on this one player. Alright, so we open source, it's going to autoplay. I really digressed there. Let's just see the beef. Okay, that's all I have to do. Now we're playing video. And now what do we want to do? Let's get rid of the green, right? It's on green screen. This hasn't been like keyed out in another piece of software. Like in Giant, we made the black all the way black, like 000, perfectly black, and that's how we're able to get it out. This one we're going to use the green channel to get out the background. So this is kind of fun. We're going to change this to be masked. And then if we give, everywhere we give it a black value, it'll be transparent. Everywhere we give it a white value, it'll show the RGB information. So you're like, well, it's green screen, right? Maybe we could just take out the green. Let's try it. We can preview, right? And let's see what happens. It's like the opposite of what we want, right? So let's do the opposite of what we want. Alright, that's not quite there. But we could peek in there and see, oh, well, it's not super green. It's not really contrasty, right? We want to give it values of black. It has to be pretty much all black. There's two ways I could change this. If I twirl this down, I get some advanced features. And it says, this is, oops, that was not what I meant to do. This is the opacity mask clip value. So what I can basically do is lower the threshold for that gray by raising this up. Too much. You see I'm starting to chroma key them out. So that's one way of doing it. Alright? Or I can also do it as kind of a scalar parameter by using a not Panner. We might get there today. A power. We're gonna like square it. All right, send it to the power of 2, and you'll see that this will make it more contrasty. Boom. See right there, it's like darker gray, whiter white. And then we have this exponent. See, it's already a little bit better. And then we have this exponent. What I want to do is I want to create a scalar parameter for alpha. And we'll start off with 2. We'll call it alpha. And as you saw 2 weeks ago, where we made these instances so we can drive it in real time while we're watching it, let's go ahead and do the same here. I'll keep this open so we come back to it. So let's make an instance of the material. What I always forget to do is actually put it on the new thing. All right, we can do it that way, or we can make sure that there it is. It's the instance. Let's open it up, bring it to the side, and we have this alpha value right here. So now I can play it, and then while it's playing, I can start slowly taking it away in real time. Cool, right? We just chroma keyed in real time in the game engine. And we're hanging out with the beef. And he's like hiding behind a bush and telling us to do it. I don't know what he's not 3D because we don't need depth data. The Giant was using depth data. This guy is just a card. But if you guys did Fall in Love in VR, what did that thing do? What did that experience do when you moved around? It kind of rotated to face you, right? And that's called look-at behavior, or something known as billboarding. And that's what particles do. Particles, they look like they're 3D because no matter where you are, they're always facing you. No matter where you go. It's because they know your forward vector, and they're always turning to face you. So we have this video playing here. This is fine. If we preview it and go around our scene, we can see that, right? And this is exactly what would have happened if we had gotten up and walked around in Giant. So, I left our source material. What we're going to do is we're going to create a little blueprint, okay? And this will be called BP Billboard. And there's a thing called a material billboard. And what is the material we're going to use? Well, we're going to bring in, it's called a sprite. We haven't done sprites. We're doing that today. But we're going to bring in a material. And it's called some sort of inst. And so now we have, look at this. No matter where I go, he's facing me. Super motivational, right? Always looking you dead in the eye no matter where you go. This is a little different. I don't scale it the same way. If I scale it with these numbers, it doesn't scale up. It actually has kind of like an absolute pixel size that we use there. That we'd probably be better off, again, putting it into the world. I thought we just established as always was you looking at me. Where'd he go? Does he go into the water? Mr. LaBeef, where'd you go? There he is. So now he has a friend. And now that's in the world, we can start adjusting the size a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to simulate because I want to be able to fly around. So, right? It's a little bit better experience when you always are getting looked at with the video, right? He's like, don't look away from me. Don't you walk away from me. I'm motivating you in the bushes. Super motivated in the bushes. Right? But there's two ways of doing it, right? Okay, so we got a handle on video, and let's go ahead and immerse ourselves in a world. Okay, in a world. I'm gonna stop highlighting that. There we go. I need to get rid of those weird hands that I had on there. There we go. Okay, so I want to do a 360 video, and you guys, I don't know if you're familiar with like maps is with that. There's equirectangular projection. And these things are supposed to fit around spheres, and they're stretched at the top and the bottom because the geometry is so much smaller there that when it's actually on there, that those pixels won't be stretched and torn, right? This is how 360 cameras kind of shoot their content. And I want to have my my beef playing, and also I want to also have my 360 video. So I'm going to need to make a new media player. You got two in there, yeah. Yeah. They're in the Gear VR kits with the Gear 360, which is two lenses and it stitches it in the software. So I have one media player already used. I can't use it to also play a 360 video. So we're going to make another one. And let's call this one 360 video. A 360 source. Great. And let's make a material. And we want it to be emissive, right? We don't want to take shadows because it's the world around us. The shadow information is in the RGB information, it's in the pixels, not in how we light it. So we're gonna make it unlit. Save. And let's go ahead and do the blueprint, since we know that we have to go through the whole rigmarole of assigning a. Actually, I could just tease off that array I made. Get an index. Let's use file number 2, or actually number 1, which is the show reel, and then let's get a new player. So even though I have the player, I need a variable that I can call inside the blueprints. So this is, again, 360 player video. That is a media player. Great. If I compile, I get option to choose which one, and we'll use the 360 source. Great. So this is going to open source, and it's going to autoplay number 1. And it's also going to happen off the sequencer. There we go. And if I want to comment it to make it easier to find, I can say this is 360. And then I can move this around. Cool. And so let's bring in a sphere. And let's put on the 360 material and play. Cool. It seems to be mapped correctly. We got this little like globe, and we can see into this little world, a snow globe. But we want to be on the inside, right? Well, we want to be on the inside, but where is everything? I don't know. So we could do a couple of things. First of all, let's make this much bigger so we're inside of it, okay? 10, 10, 10. Not too big. It's just us and the beef hanging out inside of this world. But see, it's invisible on the side. There's a trick that is turning it two-sided. It's doing this to be efficient. It's doing this to crash and be efficient, so that you're only rendering one side. What's happening is I'm going to say a two-sided material, but what that's doing is it's rendering the video twice, and that might not be actually an efficient way of showing the video. You're now rendering it twice as many times, and that can be pushing twice as many pixels. So what's often a good idea is to either export that sphere or go into another 3D package and invert the polygons. Did I never save? Boom, I never saved. I'm fine with that. So we just need to make some media players real quick. That's good. Good review, right? And then we have 360. Alright, save all. And then we just need to allocate the texture sample. This one is 360, so it's 360 video. Save. And this one is the beef. Save. We still have our material and our billboard right there, so that's good. And let's make sure our blueprints are still there. Cool. So it looks like we got no errors and ready to go. Let us hit play and see. You're not playing just yet. Alright, so we need to allocate this 360 player is going to there, and this one is going to great. And then I also need to bring in the file location. Let's import those movies. Now you see I'm saving all after everything I do. And the sources are allocated. Boom, troubleshooting. We're back where we were before. Cool. Except for maybe we don't have our sphere anymore. So let's put a sphere back in the world. Make it scale up to 10, 10, 10. So we're now inside, but it's invisible. Let's put our 360 source on here and make it double-sided. And I'm going to find my pawn, and I'm going to turn off being player 0. And I'm just going to put a player start in there so I kind of fly around. And one thing is going to happen immediately. Just rotate it around. Okay. What's going to happen is that when I hit play, it's shot me out. See that? I started for 1 frame and then it shot me out. Why would that happen? I can't get back in. Can't get back in. It's because it's got collisions on it. So it thought it was the inside of a even though we see rendered as polygons, it's considering it a solid thing. So inside your 360 video, just come down to the collisions and just say no collisions. No collisions. And now when I hit play, I'm in the glorious world of 360 video deposited in 3D world. Just a little bit off. But also, instead of this, I don't know if I guys showed you that you can find engine content inside the engine itself. If I look for sphere, there is already a sphere with inverted normals. So I can just use this and I don't have to do a two-sided material. Whenever I take anything from the engine content though, I always make sure that I meshes. I make a copy of it. I don't move it there so that it's still there. You want to keep it nice and neat so you can find it later on when you need it. So this still exists there, and I made a copy of it in my world. And let's go ahead and hide the content so I don't screw it up on accident. And then there is my new inverse normals thing. So I delete this, bring this into the world. I'll make it 15, just a little bigger. 15, 15. And then I can live happily. Oh, I can't just yet live happily. But you see, like, it has the inverted. Pretty cool, right? Let's give it the material. Which is 360. Oh, and just to prove our point, let's make sure it's not double-sided anymore, so we're saving ourselves some effort. Cool, play. Oh, same thing happened. I need to take off the collision off this guy now. I switched it out. And back in there. And now I'm living in a world without Shia LaBeouf. Let's see. Ah, so that kind of crashed it. Beef. Now I'm where I want to be in this world together. We need to make that instance of it. Put it on there. And I don't remember what the setting was, but we can figure it out together. Is that alpha value? Great. So now we're driving around, getting motivated. Cool. So let's bring in one other thing, and that is a sprite sheet. All right. So basically, an animated GIF is like a stack of images, right? And what I want to do is I want to align them in a grid, and then using my UVs go through them like I was like how a film goes through a projector, right? Frame by frame by frame by frame. So I already downloaded some GIFs, and we're gonna open them up at Photoshop. Let's find my downloads. Okay. And let's see. Let's do the date. Or I could find them real quick. Let's just go to. We want HUD GIFs. Right, we want heads-up display GIFs. All right, we can search for images and make sure that they are animated. And then now these are all animated GIFs. Okay. This seems to be a pretty straightforward one. Cool, let's bring that into our world. Oh, there's going to be a bunch of HUD art. I just want this one though. HUD, show the folder. So if I open it up in Photoshop, it's going to be one image, but it's going to be a stack of layers on this right side. And then there'll be a little timeline. So here's my images, and there's like what? There's probably too many. Let's just get rid of. We want to do 8 by 8. What is that? 64. So let's get rid of all these extra ones. Great. Now we have an 8 by 8. Okay. And just to kind of go over what a sprite sheet is, real quick, just so you can see it. This is how like Mario is an asset and all this kind of stuff. It's a sequential order of motion, right? That you go across, and this is how you make this is how passage is done and stuff. And I am going to give you a link to a HTML5 sprite sheet generator. Right here, I put in week 6, and basically it's a little script you put in your Photoshop directory. Slack. And there it is. And if we go to Photoshop, now it takes these. We need to make sure all of these layers are on. Control Alt Shift, or what was it? Oh, Control Shift A. There you go. I've selected all of them, and then Control period comma turns me either all off or all on. Right. So now they're all on together, and I'm going to use that script. Script create sprite sheet from layers. I want it to be, right now it says that's going to be 1 row and 64 columns. Let's make it nice 8 and 8 so it's easier for us to see. It's 8 and 8. I say okay. This is called a sprite sheet, or it can also be called a texture atlas, like all the textures you're going to use on one big image. Just like we found out with Giant, where we did 3 videos stacked, it wasn't as performative. You could sometimes stack a whole bunch of stuff on one image so that you're utilizing less assets, right? So this is incremental frames, like a film strip. I'm going to export this as a PNG to my project. Photoshop. Let's come back to the Unreal stuff. Let's go to our textures and we'll import from the imports this giant. There we go, there's the HUD. And I'm going to make a material out of that by right clicking on it, saying create material, and I'm going to move the material to my materials folder. So this is an instance where I want to move, not copy. There you go. And great, perfect. So we need to figure out a way to like subdivide this and kind of crawl along, right? Like we're eating a piece of corn, typewriter thing. So that's called a flipbook. Okay, and a flipbook has a number of rows, number of columns. So it's not, we don't have to worry about making a scalar because it's not going to change. It's 8 and 8 for this one. Unless we wanted to make like a class that we could change how many columns and what the texture sample is and make a lot of instances of flipbooks. But for right now, we're just making the one. 8 rows, 8 columns. What is the phase? We're going to use time to drive it. There's time. And that is basically creating the UVs that are going to subdivide. Right? It's jumpy because I just deleted a whole bunch of stuff to make it smaller and work better. But now we have this kind of HUD element. Let us heads up display element. So I'm going to change the blend mode to additive. Translucent would work too. I would just put like this here, and the black values would be black values. But by the fact they're black, this additive layer will just seem transparent. So let's get some more blueprints. I'm going to take this billboard, find it, and say, now I'm going to make a copy. And this one, I'm going to rename sprites. Just so I can save 2 steps, which is not to create that. And then now, and the HUD is square, so it's 250 by 250. And what's cool about this one though is that it's actually automatically playing. It doesn't need to have the code because it's just the way material is rendered. So I'm just holding down Alt and it makes a duplicate. Alright, so this is like how you would make any kind of UX item that's on like a controller, so it's always facing you. Like, oh, what does this button do? And it would always face you. And now we have these moving images. I want to fly through the range. Alright. So this now is another little area of our map. Alright. And with just 6 minutes left, I can't really think of any alternative thing we can do. I mean, we are messing around with these instances, so there's other properties we can always mess around with. I'm going to make a scalar for brightness. I said I'm going to make a thing for brightness called bright. There we go. And we'll start off with 1, and we'll multiply this in with the emissive. And now when we're playing back, we come here We also now have a parameter for there, and let's let them shine. There you go, buddy. Is it the golden Buddha, right? Yeah. So now we've created, you know, from a distance, we just created like an avatar that's always facing us and giving us gestures from just a video clip. This would be a really, really, really efficient way of like populating. It's just one video playing back. I make a bunch of these. It's just one video. Right? These are instances of that one video. We can do an entire crowd scene from this. All right, is that the original one? Billboard. A little crowd scene. It's going to crash right now. Gonna crash? Cool. That means it's time to go.